Before we introduce Stevie, I want to take you back to earlier today. I want to play a little bit of Xabi Alonso, confirming that he was leaving Bayer Leverkusen. And if we go back to October 2022, when he took over the German club, they were second bottom of the Bundesliga. But all good things have to come to an end. Here's Xabi.
I think that it's good that we can let you know that this week the club and I we have agreed that these 2 games are gonna be my last 2 games as Bayer Leverkusen coach. We have been talking during this week that it's always about the momentum, and now is the right moment to announce it, because we have always had this good communication, this direct communication with the club. And now that we have clarity, is the right moment to say that for sure it's a moment with mixed emotions. That it's the moment to announce it and to know it. But yes, it's the moment to do it. It's not the moment as well to not to talk too much and not to talk about the future.
Okay, Stevie, he was beloved as a player at Liverpool, but he was also beloved as a player at Real Madrid. He won a La Liga title, he won a Champions League there. There's nothing to suggest that his destination is anywhere other than the Santiago Bernabeu now, is there?
Absolutely not. I mean, it's kind of one of those best-kept secrets, isn't it, that Xabi Alonso was going to end up at Real Madrid. And certainly because of the season that Real Madrid have had, that Carlo Ancelotti will be leaving, and I think it's a good choice. I think it's the right choice. And Xabi Alonso will absolutely, in my opinion, be head coach at Real Madrid at the end of the season.
And he's likely to have Trent Alexander-Arnold, another Liverpool connection, with him next season. Let's get into this a little bit. He's got his right back, who'll be competing with Carvajal. What other positions do you think he'll be looking at? Maybe not wholesale changes, just 1 or 2 to improve the quality of that Real Madrid squad.
Well, I think there's no question that the back line has been decimated. Certainly Trent Alexander coming in doesn't strengthen it in terms of the defensive side of it. And so for me, it really is about bringing in some tough, strong, experienced defenders. They have the ability going forward. That's never been in doubt. But Carlo Ancelotti this year hasn't been able to put it together. With the arrival of Mbappe, we all thought this is icing on the cake. But really, you could probably say that it's actually upset the apple cart. The way they were the previous season, winning Champions League, dominating in Spain. I mean, Mbappe really upset the apple cart, and it just hasn't been the same since he arrived. And so the fact that Ancelotti's leaving, the fact that it's going to be Alonso, I think is a good thing. Because Alonso will definitely change the style. He'll certainly have a different way of communicating with his players and what he's wanting from them. So if I'm Alonso, I'm really looking at what I can do defensively to tighten up, because I think going forward, there's no question that he has all the tools. He just has to try and put them together in a manner that makes it all work with the superstars and the ability that he has.
I've spoken about Trent, and that was one of the worst kept secrets as well. Even although it's not yet been announced that's where he's going, we've kind of known that for several months. Do you think there was some sort of gentleman's agreement, a kind of handshake last summer, in that Xabi Alonso would have 1 more year at Bayer Leverkusen and then he would take over from Carlo Ancelotti this summer?
Well, I'm not quite sure it was as straightforward as that. I would suggest that on the Leverkusen side with Alonso, I would think that between the two of them, if an opportunity, as opposed to saying an actual name, came along, then he would be allowed to go. I mean, I think that's pretty much it. You can never be sure in football, and so 12 months ago, I don't think you turn around and say, right, I'm going to Real Madrid. Maybe at the end of this season, next season, but maybe the season after. I don't think that's the conversation. I think the conversation with Alonso and Leverkusen is, look, if an opportunity comes along that I want to take, are you going to let me do it? And I'm sure that was the agreement. I don't think there was clubs' names involved. I just think it was put under opportunity. And obviously, Alonso would probably be, I'm pretty sure, hoping that that opportunity would come along. But that, to me, would how it would have been worded in his contract.
There was no way he was even replicating what he did with Bayer Leverkusen this season. It was just impossible. It was a lightning in the bottle season for Bayer Leverkusen last year. Knowing now that he's likely to go to Real Madrid, and when we spoke, all of us on ESPN FC and ESPN FC Live last year, and a lot of us were saying he's got to go now because he might not get a better opportunity. Has he been proved right here? Because his stock hasn't dropped, has it, in the previous 12 months because Leverkusen couldn't do what they did the 12 months before?
No, I think 100% he did the right thing. And I think that Real Madrid, who we assume he's going to, are going to benefit from that. You know, as a coach, Alonso had never gone through the Champions League system, you know, in terms of how you look after your players in the season in order to win enough games to get through to the second stage and then even further. So that experience that Alonso has gained in terms of this season, having to go through that, is going to stand him in good stead. And it's certainly going to stand Real Madrid, if indeed that's who he's going to. It's going to stand them in good stead as well. So I think there's no question 100% that staying at Leverkusen for another season was a great move. You know, not just in terms of the Champions League, but in terms of it was never going to be as good. Things were never going to go so well. And as a coach, you learn more about yourself when things are not going the way that you hoped and you're not getting the results that you hoped or thought you should get. And so you have to come up with solutions. And when you have to come up with solutions and you actually do that, then these things stay with you for the rest of your career. So that they're in the bank, they're in that computer in the back of your head, that when a situation arises, you've been through it before, you've got a fair idea of what the outcome's going to be, depending on your decision. So just in terms of gaining experience, I think absolutely Alonso did the right thing, staying at Leverkusen for this next for that 12-month period extra.
As a coach, Stevie, do you go to a new club and say, right, this is the formation that's tried and tested for me, it's the one I like, it's the one I know, it's the one I'm going to play, a bit like Amorim at Manchester United? Because with Xabi Alonso, he played a 3-4-2-1 last time out for Leverkusen at Freiburg, because he's got the personnel to do that with Florian Wirtz playing off the striker. Could you see him going in there and maybe trying a back three with the personnel that Real Madrid have? Or do you think he'll go in and go, okay, what have I got? Right, that's the best formation to suit these players.
Listen, I understand somebody like Amorim going into United and wanting to implement the system that he likes best, that he knows best, that he thinks he can coach best, and he can turn the players that he has into a team that will succeed with that formation. I understand why someone would do that. Personally, that's not how I would go about it. I think you have to look at what players you have and then you piece together the best way to make it all work. I think with a preconceived idea, I think it's tough. And I think you've seen the Amorim at United, how tough it is when you've got a system with players that don't really fit that system. I mean, United have just struggled. Other than the Europa League, they've struggled to put a string of wins together. In fact, to put a string of performances together, which is more important. Because most coaches will say, right, if we can put together a string of performances, then we will get points, we will get results. And that's kind of what you rely on as a coach. You know, you're putting a system in so that the consistency appears and everybody knows what they're doing. But that just hasn't worked at United, and I believe it's because they don't have the players. So I'm not a guy that you have a system and that's it. I think you have to figure out the ability of your players, and then you decide the structure that you're going to put them into. That's how I would do it.